What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we're here with George of the almighty Serenity. It is great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
I say thank you very much. Hope you're fine over there.
Doing all right, man. Doing fine. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm sitting in my office here at the university, and instead of working on something else, I'm having an interview with you.
That's awesome. I've always said, because I love interviewing bands when they're at like sort of like their other jobs. I've always said this is like their multiverse sort of like
Yeah,
characters. Like you see them on stage. Like this could almost be. I feel like they could make like a comic book series out of you, where like you're that badass metal musician of Serenity and War Kings on stage, but then your secret identity is teaching at a university. Like I think there's a
yeah.
secret. I think.
True. Two lives, let's say,
Yep.
you know?
There's a secret concept album in the making. Just remember that.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome to have you here. We got a lot of exciting things for the Serenity Camp. First and foremost, you got the Memoria live album coming out shortly. Is this sort of meant to like hold people over while we wait for a follow up to the last night in a way, or is this sort of like a special occasion and the Serenity thing that you've always wanted to do, and you chose this particular gig to make a live album for a reason?
We had already since years the plan to do more acoustic stuff as well because we always added one or two or even three songs during our metal shows. You know, when we were doing headlining tours, we always had a short acoustic block within the set, and the people loved it. So we always said, okay, it would be a good idea to make something bigger only with acoustic. And then due to the fact that in April 2020, we were not able to do our headlining tour for the last night. We just did a double headliner tour with Rage for this album, but there was another headliner tour planned and already booked 2 months later. And then for sure, we all know what happened. COVID came. And so, yeah, we were not able to tour. So we said, okay, what should we do? Then we had this idea to do this Nights Pub on Zoom as well and on Facebook, that we had these online sessions where we talked with the fans and so on and so on. And within these online sessions, we also played some acoustic songs, you know? And so the people loved it again. And we said, okay, you know what? When we cannot really go on tour because it was not possible back then, we can plan an acoustic show for only a special amount of people. And let's record it and bring up a Blu-ray, a DVD, and some acoustic CDs. And that was the plan. And we did a crowdfunding for that. And thanks God, we do have really loyal fans who supported us really big time here and made it possible that we had the budget to hire a theater, to hire some guest musicians and a filming team and a team who was responsible for the audio recordings and so on and so on. And then it was planned already in 2020. Then for sure the second wave came in. Then we had to postpone it everything on 2021. Again, some restrictions, especially here in Austria, they were quite strict with it. So we had to postpone everything to May 2022. That's the reason why, people had to wait nearly 2 years now for this acoustic adventure.
Yeah.
But I think it was worth it because
100%.
it went out really, really great. And yeah, it were two special nights.
Definitely.
And so we are very happy with the result.
When you I always love asking this question. When you like translate your songs to an acoustic version and you bring this new raw energy to it, do you feel like that almost brings a new emotional layer to it, or
Yeah.
maybe change the context in a way of the music as well?
Yeah, I mean, there are really songs, for example, like Legacy of Tudors, in my opinion, which is working in the acoustic version even better than in the original metal version. Because from the beginning it had some Celtic folk vibe. I mean, it's inspired by Henry VIII, Henry Tudor, so also fitting, you know, to England, to the island, this Celtic folk vibe. And in this special arrangement now, acoustic wise, in my opinion, it's even sounding better than the metal version. Then the ballads are having a completely different feeling when you do it completely in acoustic. And the good thing is that with all the songs, we were quite happy and lucky because you always say if a song is working only with an acoustic guitar, it's a good song. If you need a lot of other stuff that a song is working, then it's a shit song. And yeah, and thanks God, all the song worked only with an acoustic guitar. For sure, we added some violin stuff here and there, some flute stuff here and there, but all in all, you could have played all these songs only with one acoustic guitar, and this is the best sign ever.
Yeah, and
So,
and
yeah.
I never was able to understand why people think that just because there's an acoustic version of a song, whether it's an acoustic version of a heavy song or just originally an acoustic, people always hear the word acoustic and they always associate it with the term ballad. Like that doesn't really make sense to me.
No,
I've heard plenty of acoustic songs that are pretty damn heavy. Sure, it doesn't have a, it doesn't sound like a Boss Metal Zone like
yeah,
like times 10, but like in
yeah.
the end, like I think it has the ability to be raw with its emotion and heavy with its sort of raw energy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're completely right. So I still think that songs like United or also Lionheart and so on, they are heavy, although they are now in an acoustic version there, but it's still heavy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
When it comes to the whole Serenity album catalog, when you get from Words Untold and Dreams Unlived and Fallen Sanctuary to War of Ages and now, has every album had its own unique approach to it, or is there a usual, maybe sort of like a method behind the madness that is applied to the making of every Serenity album?
I think from Death and Legacy on, they all have something in common that they're completely about historical. Uh, Historical characters, historical happenings like battles and so on, like wars and so on. So from Death and Legacy, they all have this historical background. What began with Codex Atlanticus is the fact that it's about one person, for example. Codex Atlanticus is about Leonardo da Vinci. Lionheart is surprisingly about Richard Lionheart, and The Last Night is about Maximilian I. So, Death and Legacy was a mixed album where one song was about Sir Francis Drake, the other song was about Elizabeth I, and so on and so on. But with Codex Atlanticus, it started to be really concept oriented, and the first three albums, or the first two albums, I want to say, they are more, yeah, mixed. We had some historical stuff in there, but also modern stuff in there. Mm-hmm. But with Death and Legacy, War of Ages, Codex Atlanticus, they are all historical based.
Now we just opened up the floodgates for a lot of questions as a history nerd myself in a way. But first question: do you think of the concept or the historical idea before you lay down music in a way, or do you prefer to maybe have some song arrangements already present before you could get into your head? Okay, this is what it's going to be about, or this is what it's going to be about.
No, first the main topic is fixed. So we talk about the main topic of the album first, then we write the songs, and then it depends on the vibe of the song. If, for example, this song is about this special thing within this topic, or if this song is about the other special thing within this topic. So the main theme is fixed, then we write the music, and then we decide which song fits to which point within the concept.
Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of bands that have brought in historical elements into it. There have been death metal bands, like for instance, like I know that like Sepultura, they wrote a song called Dante, which was about like the Divine Comedy. But then you have a band like Sabaton that writes about every war that has happened. But then a band like Ad Infinitum, whose latest concept was about Emperor Nero. Why do you feel that the style of Serenity is sort of like the best style to demonstrate this historical context?
I would not say we're the best band doing it, or we are. But in my opinion, what is really, really cool is that we really, really spend a lot of time in research for the topics. Then for sure, I'm in the really great position that it's my main job here at the university, because when you look at the topics from the last three albums, they are all around late medieval, early modern time period. And this is exactly the time where I did my PhD, and where I wrote my books here about. It's always about late medieval and early modern time period. And Da Vinci is exactly in this period. Maximilian the First is in this period. Lionheart, Richard the Lionheart, is in this period of time. So I think what is really special within Serenity that we we have the huge advantage of having somebody. It's sounding weird because it's myself, and don't get me wrong here, but we have the advantage that I'm really a professional historian, and this is something other bands I think don't have.
Yeah, of course. And do you almost feel like that definitely opens up a lot of doors in a way too, because I feel like and it's not to throw shade on other bands, but understanding the surface of history. I mean, again, it's just that it's the surface. Like, there's so much you could talk about just one individual. Like, you could write an album. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a topic off of my head. Like, you could write an album about Emperor Nero. Okay, is one
Yeah.
song going to be about how he was playing the fiddle as Rome burned? Is one song going to
Yeah.
be about how he was so in favor of torturing those who came against him? Are you going to write about sort of like the comparisons between him and Calaluga? So, like, I feel like there's so many
Mhm.
different areas that you could cover. Do you almost feel like your albums are meant to be listened to chronologically in a way? Like, if you were to write an album like about Richard the Lionheart, do you need to start off with De Zur Volt, and forgive me if I destroy that, to the Final Crusade, or could a listener maybe approach your album from different angles?
You can for sure listen it to also from different angles. This is not a problem. What is very important for us, because you said you can write the song about how Nero, for example, was playing the fiddle or the violin while Rome was burning. Uh, there, for example, for us, it's always important to tell not the myths, to tell let's say the critical true history. Because for example, nobody knows how he really played his fiddle and so on. This is just one of the myths again. And also with Leonardo da Vinci, everybody knows Leonardo da Vinci mostly because of Mona Lisa.
Of course.
But there are so many other things. This guy was into it, and also with Lionheart. Lionheart for many people is the huge hero. But on the other hand, he was a real, let's say, a real bastard.
Well, I think that's like that with every historical figure. I know people who have pictures of
Sure.
Che Guevara hanging in their house, but
Yeah.
that guy slaughtered children. So, like,
Exactly.
so
Man, finally somebody, because I'm always getting such I'm really getting angry because I see so many young people with Che Guevara t-shirts, and when I ask them, do you know what this guy did? Then they have no clue about.
yeah,
It's just revolution. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
same thing with Guy Fawkes. Like, I think people just
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
think like Guy Fawkes. I think like when I see people wearing the Guy Fawkes masks, to me it just looks like a poor man's Slipknot concert at this point. So
yeah. Yeah,
like,
you're completely right.
yeah,
So this is exactly what I mean. So you got it immediately. This is exactly what I mean. We really try to tell stories, but in a very critical way, not this heroism and yeah, we are the heroes and qua qua qua. It's more about like I would write a book,
yeah,
you know,
at, at,
where I say, okay, they have this opinion, the other one had this opinion. In the end, it was written under circumstances that we all don't know exactly, and so on. So we have to be a bit critical here and there, and so
yeah. And
yeah,
I think the most notable example, maybe a little different from, but like, we sensationalize serial killers and terrible people all the time. I wonder, maybe maybe with your historical background, is that sort of like a psychological thing that's been firmly planted into where, like, we just immortalize some of the worst human beings on earth? Like, everybody knows, and I don't mention their names, but everybody knows the name of this mass shooter or the shooter of that, but nobody can name a single victim. Everybody knows who Adolf Hitler is. Not many people know who Anne Frank or Elie Wiesel is. So, like, I just wonder why we always tend to immortalize the evil ones, but never really immortalize the victims.
yeah. But you're completely right, first of all. And the thing is, uh, what news is the most interesting news? The good news or the bad news?
Yeah, right.
You see, just look at the newspaper or whatever. We are always just having all the bad stuff in mind. Always the bad stuff is the most interesting. And have you heard that? And have you heard that? But also with the church, let's take the church. I'm for sure I'm Catholic, okay, because I was grown up like this, but I'm very critical with it.
Of course.
But if you talk to people, the Catholic Church, also here in Austria, is for many people always bad. Because for sure there were some bad guys in there, and still some are in this church. For example, doing bad things to kids and so on and so on and so on. But the good examples, nobody knows about them. I don't know. I'm sure you still remember Lady Di. The wife of Prince Charles back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, she died exactly in the same period of time as this. I don't know the word in English. Mutter Teresa in German. This very famous female this nun, and she spent her whole life in Africa. Taking care about really ill people, and she gave everything. She got all the diseases what you can imagine, just because he had contact with all these ill people. And she was on the newspaper on page 8 when
Yeah.
she died, and Lady Di was on the first 8 pages.
Yeah. It's
So
it's terrible.
what the hell?
Yeah, it's almost like my favorite saying too is like when like you is in reverse, where they say, well, he did that one good thing despite him being terrible otherwise. Like it's like saying,
Yeah.
oh, besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you enjoy the show? Like
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
When it comes to though the music of Serenity, though, are you also, is there ever a time where your personal life or your personal experience is also, because you are, as you mentioned, very critical, you do have the historical background to bring in not just your interpretation but your experiences teaching it, does your personal life or your personal experiences also help guide your hand with the songwriting, or do you just want music to be a pure escapism in a way and a history lesson outside of yourself?
Yeah. Number 2. I'm really more escaping here. I'm, for example, music is something I'm not really very critical with it. Let's say the quality, yes, but it's more coming from its own. For example, driving with the car or just having a walk in the wood, and suddenly I got an idea with a melody, and then I record it on my phone to keep it. Then I already sometimes have an idea. Okay, this song could be about something like this here, within the main topic, for example, when we already decided. And then for me, it's done, because I'm not really able to play any instrument. I learned piano back then, but yeah, forget it. So I sent this idea to our guitar player Chris, for example, and then we work together on it, because he is able naturally to play the guitar. He's able to program some drum parts and so on for the demo versions, and then we're building up this song, but very, more emotional than with the head. Yeah. So if it's feeling good, it's fine, and if it's kitschy, if it's cliche, we don't care, as long as we have the feeling this is a great song, this is a cool thing.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to all the projects you've been involved in, whether it will be Serenity or War Kings or Fallen Sanctuary, it feels like it always does have that historical context behind it. Like I feel like War Kings as well has. I would say that maybe there's like more of a historical context behind it, but more like a specific theme in a way. Where I feel like Serenity dabbles in multiple spaces in time. Does that at all maybe make it a similar art in a way, or do you feel like playing with a different project is a completely separate mind frame altogether?
It's completely separate. First of all, officially, I'm not part of War Kings. I don't know what you're talking about.
You mean? I'm sorry. Are you the Tribune?
Yeah, and this is my twin brother. My twin brother. He is the Tribune in War Kings. So here we go. No, first of all, within War Kings, there is no really. There is no. How to say? We don't want to be historically correct. Not at all, because this is more inspired by movies. Like Sparta is the Spartan is inspired by 300 movie and so on, Gladiator movies, Kingdom of Heaven movie, and so on and so on. So this is something I'm really not into historical facts here. This is exactly this thing what other bands are selling as as serious music or as serious topics. We're selling it as, I mean, the music itself is serious, but lyrical wise, it's always with a, you know,
Tongue in cheek.
hmm, yeah, exactly, exactly. Within Fallen Sanctuary, it's different because within Fallen Sanctuary we don't have historical themes there. The songs are all about modern problems of our society, about drug addiction, about climate problems, and so on and so on. So there is nothing at all with historical things, and which is great because I really can escape this historical circle with Fallen Sanctuary. I can concretely follow my historical madness, let's say, with Serenity, and my twin brother is just having fun with his other band called War Kings, using historical myths.
You know, I've interviewed the Tribune before, and I must say he's not only your twin, he looks very much like you. And I
Really?
yeah, and he's talked a little bit of crap about Serenity here and there too. I don't know if you want to like maybe have a word with him later.
Okay, okay. You mean, but not with the Tribune? Then you talked with the Tribune or with the Viking?
I spoke with one of them, and they got some dirt. They said Serenity is ripping them off.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. Sometimes he's an asshole, But what to say?
Yeah, right, exactly. And the final question I wanted to ask you is going back to the historical aspects of Serenity as well. Is, as we could all agree, history does repeat itself plenty of times in a way. So does
Sadly, yes.
can you see? I know that Fallen Sanctuary, like I know that Terra Nova, like had that sort of like you focus on issues like addiction or whatnot. But could Serenity and looking at the present and looking outward also maybe help? Maybe pick what you're going to write about in the future, or could you see Serenity maybe using your style to dabble into some issues that are repeating itself today?
I think there are many examples that we made some songs about happenings which you can see right nowadays as well. When we had songs about Napoleon, for example, and you take some famous politicians, I think, yeah, you can see immediately that there are some parallel things here running. But what I want to avoid with Serenity is really obviously going into the present.
Mm-hmm.
So Serenity will stay with past happenings, and Fallen Sanctuary, there we have these topics which are happening now.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe too that with Serenity that maybe sometimes they could serve as external metaphors in a way. I've seen plenty of times where like people have used historical references as a means to express something that's happening internally within them.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for such an awesome conversation. Feels great to discuss history and all this as well. Is there just anything else with Serenity that
Thank
you
you,
would like?
man.
Of course. Is there just anything else with Serenity that you would like to promote with the release of Memoria? Can we be expecting a tour anytime soon? We would love to have you here in the U.S.
Yeah, we would love that as well. We would love that as well because we only played two times Prog Power Festival, and we played once the 70,000 tons of metal cruise,
Yep.
but we never really toured North America. And this is really a shame. But perhaps we will do it in the future. We can make it somehow. One thing I can already say is that we are just finishing the songwriting process for the upcoming album of Serenity. It will be probably out in summer or early autumn 2023. So surprisingly, it will be about history again. So yeah.
Can you give any hints, or do you just want to?
Yeah, it seems that we will talk about a guy, a very famous painter from Germany, living around 1500.
So Renaissance, high Renaissance area. Buddy, we are here with
Thank you.
Serenity. Check out Memoria coming out very soon, and be on the lookout for new stuff coming soon. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.
Exactly.